Reinhard and I are going to be talking about networking skills for the new world of work. What a relevant topic. Reinhard, I'm so excited to be able to go through this learning conversation with you because both of us have had so much experience in needing to build our own networks. So I'm really excited about what we can share.
Awesome, Jane. Yes, and as you said, we definitely come from different sides, but we both work in, I would say, the human resources field, in different ways. So, yeah, let's start.
Well, let me start off by introducing you, Reinhard. Apart from being my husband, you are a professional coach for wisdom in life and business is normally where you find yourself. You've got more than 25 years experience working with leaders. And I remember you completing your master's degree through Middlesex University in the UK and being one of the first people to get your master's degree in South Africa in that. And since then, you've been coaching leaders here in South Africa and internationally. And I really like how you help people move forward in their careers by helping them understand their why and the value that they can add.
Yeah, Jane, I mean, but you have probably equally even more impressive. You've been in the recruitment industry for almost like 25, 30 years, having your own recruitment. I mean, you were the regional manager of one, then you had your own successful company, which you guys sold. Now you train and coach really internationally on talent and searching for talent and how to do that in the recruitment industry in corporates worldwide.
So let's start off by talking about what do we mean by networking?
Well, I think, Jane, in the world, where we're in now, maybe COVID accelerated it, but we've been in this world, the virtual world, for long. And I want to say the world of social media platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, there's tons of them. I don't want to advertise any particular one. I mean, depending on who your target market is, you can even put TikTok in there or whatever.
That's true.
But that's not what we mean about networking. For me, networking is the person to person relationship network that you build over time, which you can serve them and they serve you. So it's a real connection with real, I almost want to say, real people, not like the other people on Facebook or LinkedIn aren't real, but it's not the click like, small comment world. It's actual people. So it's much smaller. It's not LinkedIn, you have 500, 1,000, 2,000 followers. That's not your network. Your network is the 20, 30, 40 people that you have good quality relationships with throughout your career.
Yes, I like what you're saying, Reinhard, because it's so easy to confuse those, especially in the virtual world and in the social media world. You need that presence and you need to hang out, if you like, where your target market and where your network hangs out. But it is so important to say, okay, that's not it. It's about honing that into developing one-on-one relationships with people where you understand one another's businesses and purpose, where you have one another's backs, and where you're able to influence on behalf of one another when it comes to business. So if we say that's what networking is all about, why would you say networking is so important?
Well, Jane, just briefly, I spoke to a client recently and this question came up and I said, probably the best to explain it is, why do you build a network? The two, right, and maybe that's the next question as well, is there a right and a wrong? And maybe that's answered in the why question, so why?
Okay.
You build it to not just serve yourself, but you also build it to serve a community. So one can build a network. The one extreme is the psychopath extreme, which I talked to about the client. The psychopath only looks out for themselves. It's a self-serving, self-centered reason of building a network. The other part is what I would like to call the monk part, where it's so altruistic, so kind and giving away. You give everything away, but your family starves in terms of, resources, money, and also your presence and your time. So it really is in the middle, So it's giving and receiving. So that's probably
Yeah.
what I would say.
Yeah, so there's not a right or a wrong way. It's more influenced by your why and by who you want to connect with and by how you connect. And I think that can be influenced by your industry and by your culture as well, because it's about why you're connecting and where those people are hanging out, because that's where you're going to hang out.
Yeah, but the right and the wrong, there is a right and a wrong, but it's
Okay.
what you said. It's dependent on industry and culture. So if you're in an industry where, like, a network society in your local town, and honestly, these days your local town can be on LinkedIn all around the world, but because I remember years ago we had an in-person networking group. I won't name the name. They're worldwide, and you build this little network groups. And you go to meetings once a week and exchange leads. And it didn't work for me, not because of me, but because of my industry. And that's what I learned from that. So I work as a coach in a professional setting with corporates. They weren't there, and the people that was there didn't work in that industry. And it was advertised, because you now pay for this networking group to join, right? And nothing is for free here. It was advertised that, because I spoke to the leader of that group, and he said to me, he said, "But Reinhard, these people know people that needs executive coaching in a corporate." Now, that was very nice, and it could be true, but it didn't work that way. So the method you need to choose, and there's maybe many methods, there's many ways, but it needs to fit with your industry, and it needs to fit with your culture, and also who you are. You need to be comfortable with how you do the networking, I would say. So that, to me, that would answer that question.
Yeah, very true. So Reinhard, tell us a little bit more about what helped you build a successful network.
Yeah, well, I'll tell a little bit about myself, and maybe then you can talk about you. So I almost want to say I'm a bit crazy in one way. I mean, I remember the one time this is almost like 10, even more, 15 years ago. I Googled one afternoon the words innovation, and the second word was Europe, because I thought, well, we're in the southern point of Africa. I wonder what the people do in Europe. First hit was a company called Innovation Europe. They're not there anymore because they split into two companies. But I sent them a mail. They sent a mail back. We started a conversation. 4 months later, we did a conference together in South Africa. They flew here on their cost. I put them up. I rose the cost for the conference. But that started a relationship with, especially with the one partner of that group that we have for 12 years now, and we look out for each other. So I'm sort of use my creative side into how I build network, and it is also I think for me the most important thing is the quality of the work I do. So so I never do things that I'm not confident that I can do reasonably well. I mean, there's one thing that you'll never be so brilliant that you never make mistakes, but you need to have your reputation build your network. It doesn't matter if you are now 22 years old or if you are 62 years old. One always have to remember your network, for me, is built by who I am when I show up and who I am by the work I do. And Jane, for you, what are some things that stand out for you?
Well, Reinhard, I think the most important principle is trust. And I think that something that's helped me to build trust in my network is being genuinely curious about people and really enjoying getting to know them. And I think, Reinhard, if we're going to discuss what we as Out of Box Thinking have done to grow our network, as opposed to building it in person, I think something that we're seeing more and more in the world is that you can't separate them. People do business, as you always say, with people that they like. So people are not going to buy into your business and want to grow their network with you as a business if you're not connected to them as a person. People are a lot more interested in following people and seeing a real person in what you offer and how you engage than they are in seeing a big brand and a name. And I think that's also an encouraging thought for smaller businesses, that you don't feel you have to have this big name that's out there or this flashy website. Yes, have the name, have the website, but it's how you as a person engage that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, no, true, Jane. So for us at OtterBox, the question is, how do we do it? For me, I always say start with the people you do know. So I years ago, who I always say family and friends. I did maybe family less, friends a bit more, but start with your alumni. Start with the people like you on this course now. Start with them, people you studied with, people you know in your community, and start building and take interest in them. But for me, it's also looking at speaking engagements, so I am part of groups that I listen to and contribute to. And over the years, they asked me to speak. It is not joining just the webinars of like-minded people like you, like your industry. So for me, sometimes people only join like the coaching forums. But you remember, in a certain way, they're your competition, right? So it doesn't help you just join that. So I'm part of coaching forums where I contribute, and I give away, because I'm not a coach for everybody. So I give away. I know in that forum, there's a person that's really good at that. And if I find a client, I will refer them. But it's also being part of network where I meet industry leaders and people in the industry that will buy my service, and I contribute there also freely. And that could be in person, that could be virtually. But I spend a lot of time on those. And what I said in the beginning, that small group. So I almost want to say, make a list, the art of the people, write the actual names down, of the people who you want to expand your network there, and get interested in them, their families, their birthdays, and in the beginning, it might sound a little bit, you phone so-and-so on their birthday, but the more you do it naturally, the more it becomes a real relationship, and as I said, you don't have to know everybody so well personally, but it's taking a genuine interest in the people in that network, because that's the core network that will carry you through your whole career. So for me, and what I do in OtterBox, it's probably that. And for you, Jane?
Well, I think if we look at where do I start, and we look at some practical steps on how to build a network, I think with OtterBox Thinking, we share about OtterBox Thinking, and we also share about the work that we do. So my first starting point is why? Why am I building this network? Who am I building it with? That determines where I go and how I do it. So for me, it's LinkedIn. That's where my market is. That's where my collaborators are. That's where my potential clients are. So yes, I'm on Twitter. Yes, I'm on Facebook. Yes, I'm on Instagram a bit. No, I'm not on TikTok, but that's where I've started by building a strong profile. So very practical, photo, banner, headline, good wording on about, going through the experience, volunteer experience, recommendations, skills, endorsements, over 500 connections. There's so many things that you need to do on LinkedIn to make sure that your profile is one that the algorithm will boost. And it's quite intuitive. There's some step-by-steps that you can follow to make sure you get there. And then from there, engage. Go into groups, join webinars, connect with people, comment on their posts, share, reshare things, but bring in your own opinion and your own voice so that you can become a thought leader in your industry. So you need to be active at least 2-3 times a week on LinkedIn, if that's your place, if that's your platform. Otherwise, it's somewhere else. So I think you're looking at your why, you're looking at your how, you're looking at what you share. And it's not just the content, they say, it's also your tribe. Because you can put something on a social media platform and spend all this time, but if you don't get engagement, the algorithm drops your posts and drops what you share. So you literally need to have people who you say, I've posted something, please comment. And that way you can build engagement around your posts, which means they'll reach more people, which means you can expand your network. Then, as Reinhard was saying, attend webinars. We give webinars every month just to be able to add value to our industry. That's one of our free giveaways. But attend those, attend conferences, global ones. There's so much now with COVID. And then look at the other people who attend and decide, who do I want to get to know? Connect with them with a personal note, and then set up an in-person or virtual coffee, depending on whether you're in the same city or not. But spend time getting to know the right people so that you don't just have this big group of acquaintances, but you also have some trusted people who you have their back, they have your back, and you can influence and collaborate with one another. So it's a win-win situation.
So Jane, just the last thing on that webinar, and I just want to say we'll end here too. So if you want to contact either me or Jane, we'll leave our email addresses in the end of this video. You're more than welcome to contact us, and we might not email you back in the next hour, but we will get back to you. So yes, but with that webinars, which is important again, is what you give away is not an advertisement of your service. Now, both you and me, if we are in webinars, a lot of the topics we talk about, it will never end of, yeah, and if so-and-so, please like or click or whatever, buy this program, it's now on a special. We don't do webinars like that because it's important that you you really give things away to people. So I think that's a very important thing. So a webinar is not a sales pitch.
Yeah, I think it's about adding value, and something that you always say, Reinhard, it's about how you make people feel when they engage with you. And perhaps that's a good quote to end on. It's one that was very popular over the past time during our pandemic, is Maya Angelou's quote, that people don't necessarily remember what you said or what you did, but they do remember how you made them feel. And that builds trust, that builds connection, and that builds your network.